sure Mr. Hackle is a lovely man. I mean, he went on to direct John Travolta's Electrical Linemen Are Important 2 opus 7 years later. But I do have to point out, a director of a Saw movie having Hack in their name cannot go unnoticed. I'm not that strong.
In 30 seconds, the pendulum will drop far enough to touch your body.
Discount Jigsaw has a different synonym for slice than I do. Was it necessary to pull the hour and minute hands off this clock? Is that some sort of symbolism? The clock has no hands, and at the end of this game, this guy will also not have any hands? Kind of on the nose movie, but okay.
You must insert your hands and push the buttons to start the devices before you. Your bones will be crushed to dust.
Fun. I remember when there were actual puzzles and strategy involved to get out of Jigsaw's traps. I mean, it was really only for the first movie, but still, that was fun. This really isn't. This is torture. No pun intended, but you're really cutting this close, Seth. Okay. Pun 100% intended.
Is it what I was supposed to do?
You sure did, and that fact is germane to the plot. But let's face it, nobody's ever really been good about getting out of these traps. In the end, you're servicing the gore more than the plot. At the end of Saw 3, Jeff indeed picked up a gun which he used to kill Amanda Young. Then he tried to kill John, but there weren't any bullets left. Then John put Jeff through one final game, which he failed when he used a table saw to kill John, which set off a trigger to kill Jeff's wife. So there was no reason for him to pick up the gun after this, other than to look like a threat and get shot immediately. 32 seconds of previously on Saw 4. Cell phone has no signal in a horror film cliché. Also, this phone has way too many bars to not have a signal. Also, flip phones. Seriously, I would watch a flashback of John Kramer going to Radio Shack and buying 350 mini cassette recorders and tapes and hearing the cashier say, "Man, you must really not trust your wife." Then we'd see that cashier was one of the victims we watched in the flashbacks of the first Saw.
Hello, Agent Straum.
Okay, so maybe Hoffman put this recorder here, and he did this independently from Jigsaw. But at the end of Saw 4 and throughout this movie, we were told Hoffman was basically working for him. Hoffman doesn't even meet Straum until they find Carrie's body at the beginning of Saw 4, which takes place at the same time as Saw 3. It also means this tape recorder would have been planted around the same time Jeff and Rigg were sent on their separate missions in Saw 3 and 4. So, even if somehow they knew Straum was coming, how did they know he would eventually be led here by himself and would find this tape recorder? I guess the easiest answer would be the horse's name was Friday. This sequence is the editing equivalent of new metal. This sequence is brought to you by Mudbane. Mudbane! When you need to peel me from the skin or tear me from the rind. Does it make you happy now? This works, which, to be fair, I guess it would, but god damn it, this is a miserable 11 minutes to open a film on.
What the hell, man? What happened? Where's Rigg?
Tried to help. He didn't make it.
I mean, sure, Rigg was injured at the end of the last movie, but he wasn't dead. Hoffman just left him in a room. He could have bled out in the time it took the cops to get here, but I'm trying to figure out why Hoffman didn't just go ahead and kill him, instead of leaving it up to chance. Rigg knew Hoffman was a Jigsaw Jr., so what if he'd used some Boy Scout tactic like Straum and survived? This movie would be over. God damn it, why didn't Rigg survive? First paragraph of this article is about John Kramer, but the rest of the article is about hosting pilgrims in people's homes? This is f***ing ridiculous. I know he's John's lawyer, but John is a f***ing notorious serial killer who left a mysterious box, contents unknown. This guy would have cops at his office first thing, and surely wouldn't put Jill in this kind of potential danger. Also, do you want to know what's in the box? Well, you'll have to stick around for Saw 6. Worthless scene is worthless. Might as well have shown that weird Thor scene in Age of Ultron.
The officers who gave their lives are being honored here today.
Are they really just now honoring Singh and Tap? I know the timelines in these movies can be f***ing impossible to decipher, but Singh died before Carrie Elways was ever handcuffed to a pipe in that disgusting bathroom in the first film. So it's probably been at least a year, if not more. And I don't even think Tap was on the force anymore when he was trying to stop Ben from Lost from killing Trisha from Con Air.
But today I'd like to offer a special honor to the detective who's been on this case right from the beginning.
You didn't see him in Saw 1 or Saw 2, but trust me, he was there. This article is never about the Jigsaw Killer. The first paragraph talks about a robbery, and then the rest is some political shit in Toronto. Nobody gives a shit about Toronto! My question is, why would Peter's cell phone be in an evidence locker? Sure, he was abducted at the beginning of the movie, and the police might want to dust it for prints, but why would it be inside the permanent evidence box? What's crazy is that this phone becomes an important part of Hoffman's plan, which I will have additional questions about when we get to it.
I'm truly sorry about Agent Perez.
I'm sorry for anyone that has to stay at this hospital for any length of time. They just leave bloodied pillowcases and sheets out for way too long. Torture diorama. Also, how much time do these assholes have to make their traps? They create dioramas, buy materials, engineer complex death games, scout victim talent, make recordings that are just misleading enough to make them do the wrong thing nearly every time. At least with Jigsaw, you could see him spending his entire waking life doing this shit. Agent Hoffman, a.k.a. the new Jigsaw, a.k.a. the Mandalorian, he's a detective. I mean, why does the diorama have to be up to date? I thought this was just a model for you to follow when you created your traps. Kind of like what a storyboard artist does. Maybe this is to show he's a perfectionist? Okay, sin for perfectionists. Movie takes 22 minutes and 3 seconds to properly solve 5.
Hey, don't move. What What did you do to me?
You see someone who's trapped just like you are, and the first question you have for that person is, what did you do to me?
No, it's not Jigsaw. He's dead. Haven't you watched TV lately?
Lady, I've seen the 4 previous Saw movies recently, and I never have a f***ing clue what's going on in one of these. So what makes you such an expert hot chick from Dexter?
Somebody has to die.
No, it says, don't listen to your instincts.
And even if the creepy puppet doll didn't say that, why would anyone's instinct be somebody has to die? Pretty simple, right? One person gets the key, unlocks themselves, and then unlocks everyone else. These people in this movie are dumb.
Maybe it's testing our endurance.
We've got to move, babe.
The clock is still sitting on 15 minutes in this shot, but it clearly started earlier.
I'll be in your
I know this is probably the point, but Saw started to go down a terrible road when it put almost strictly selfish people in these games. In the first movie, the protagonists thought out their problems. Almost every one of them since has featured people who don't want to do that, and it makes the games much less fun to watch. I know you want to kill people, it's a horror movie after all, but you could give them some time to think these things through and make it more fun for the viewer.
Unless you want to be shredded when those nail bombs go off. I suggest we move on.
Yes, that's true, but you have over 12 minutes to worry about that. It's not, like, urgent.
What are you doing?
Being smart.
Why I'm collecting these keys, so right before the climax I can discover that we were all supposed to be working together this whole time, even though that was made painfully obvious in the video recording. I don't often wish death on movie characters, but Saw 5 has proven that, much like Rocky Balboa at the end of Rocky 4, I can change. Also, she will proceed not to do anything smart the rest of this movie. This first puzzle was a great chance to give someone a chance to take the lead, but in the end, nobody does anything close to smart.
I needed to discuss something with Agent Strom, but I can't seem to track him down. Could you give me a call? It would be greatly appreciated.
But I won't give you my number. You might be able to find my contact info in one of the many articles written about how I saved that little girl. Or, the article where I'm mourning my sister. Anyway, thanks, bye. Wow, that's amazing. What's even more amazing is that only one Mark Hoffman exists in the world. It's weird to me that this Detective Fisk has been there from the beginning, and he's on nearly every case involving Saw, but he's never been one of Jigsaw's targets, and he's never had much screen time. I guess he was never interested enough in the case to form enough of an obsession to get killed by Jigsaw like the other detectives. Looking up Seth Baxter gets Strom on the right track, but why did he focus on Seth Baxter? When he checked the list of Jigsaw victims, the first one Hoffman was involved with was Paul Lay. Seth Baxter was before that, and was assigned to Fisk and Carey. Wait, does the FBI database have newspaper articles stored there along with the grisly murder photos? Were these photos in the paper? Or is this article here just for the audience? This murder wasn't sensational and it wasn't of anybody famous. So would there be a full article about the funeral? People covering this story had no idea how much helpful information they were providing at the time. So now we find out that Seth's death by pendulum was before John died, and that Hoffman made it look like a Jigsaw killing. This movie plays so loose and creatively with time, it's almost impressive, if it wasn't for the fact that I have to keep deleting previous sins because the movie adjusts itself every 10 minutes. Not cool, Saw 5. Not cool. Also, even if I'm willing to buy that Hoffman could pull off a Jigsaw copycat murder all by himself, which I'm not, I will never understand how he got Jigsaw's voice for the tape he played.
This is the guy that murdered your sister?
Okay, cool, so no conflict of interest that I can see. Anyway, welcome to the Jigsaw murder case. You'll be assigned to all of them from now on for some reason.
He was sentenced to 25 years. Got it reduced to 5 on a technicality.
I would love to know what this technicality is that reduces a murder sentence from 25 years to 5. There honestly could be one, I guess, but it would be nice to know what that technicality was so that I could understand Detective Hoffman's motivations better. Super weird that Strom would have a memory of Hoffman's. And yeah, I'm sure that's not what the movie meant, but it's how it's portrayed through the editing, so my hands are tied.
You killed him. Made it look like a jigsaw trap. I got you.
Sure, you can go tell Erickson that you experienced one of Hoffman's memories. That'll totally hold up in court. This crew has been off screen for about 6 minutes, and I had already forgotten they existed.
With only 3 points of safety, which of you will be the odd man out?
This video doesn't even think there's a chance that all 5 people came in here from the first room. It already assumes 4 people will be in here. There's even a chance only 1 to 3 people got out of that first room. Someone has a time-traveling DeLorean if they knew to say odd man out at this point. Hey guys, it looks like 2 people can fit in these things. Plenty of room. No need to do that is what I want to say, but I can't because, I don't know. I'll figure it out when 1 or more of you dies.
Wait!
Movie kills both the most annoying and the most interesting character in this group. Feels like that should even itself out, right? Well, it doesn't.
When did you first meet Jigsaw?
I'm not a huge fan of the Jigsaw traps, but I'm also not a huge fan of Law & Order Saw VU, also known as Saw & Order. This guy hears some shouts that may or may not be a crime in progress, all to find out it's just somebody's unruly dog. It's the most unnecessary time-wasting bullshit this movie does, besides the scene where Jigsaw's wife meets with a lawyer.
Do you mind?
Movie makes out like the person saying this is the asshole, but the person who tries to get on the elevator when people are getting off are the assholes. End of story. But also, who the are these people? What the is this scene?
Going up?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I was on the 5th floor and wanted to go up, but like an asshole, I got on an elevator that was clearly going down. Man, is my face red. Also, it seemed super ballsy at first that they killed off John at the end of Saw 3, but seeing how the writers have to bend over backwards to get Tobin Bell scenes in the other installments, it's borderline irritating at this point. By the time he walks out of the shadows in 2017's Jigsaw, I'm pretty sure there was a collective "F*** you" heard by every remaining Saw head. And I'm also pretty sure that Tobin Bell realized at that moment he had finally appeared in a scene more embarrassing than when he walked in on Holly Hunter about to give Gary Busey a blowjob in the firm.
What floor are you going to?
Why did John wait until Hoffman asked a question to go in for the attack?
I think we're both going to the same place.
Is it Disneyland? I really hope it's Disneyland. Jigsaw has said that he detests murderers, and that's what Hoffman is. But instead of putting him in a trap that's f***ing awesome, he constructs the trap that he made in the 4th grade. I know he wants Hoffman to work with him, but Jigsaw sold out when he made this trap.
The blade on your pendulum was inferior.
Pendulum shaming.
If you want a true edge, you have to use tempered steel. Tempering's better for the long haul.
Since when do any of the traps Jigsaw builds require multiple uses for a so-called long haul? Besides, the pendulum he used killed the guy pretty well. Not exactly sure what point is being made here.
If a subject survives my method, he or she is instantly rehabilitated.
I know Jigsaw isn't the best source for rehabilitation statistics using the Jigsaw method, but at this point he's done what, 2 traps? We know this because Seth Baxter, the guy Hoffman killed, is 3rd on the list. He hasn't gotten to Amanda Young yet, and the first 2 victims on this list definitely died, so he doesn't know if his method works. Yeah, he's crazy, but he's also not using the scientific method, and that's a sin.
What do you say we reconnect in the morning?
You got it.
But I won't give you a time. If you look up one of those articles where it details how I saved the little girl, I believe there's a part where I talked about what time I get up and my favorite places to go in the morning. Anyway, thanks, bye. I feel like I've seen this file room more times than I've seen the people involved in Jigsaw's game. I'm really starting to think this is an Exorcist 3 situation where David Hackle turned in this moving character piece about Strom on the trail of Hoffman, and one of the movie studio execs said, A, there's no Jigsaw game in this movie, and B, the movie is only 40 minutes long. And then another exec said, but don't worry, I personally know the guy who played Morris on 24. We'll get this fixed quick.
Well, someone had to die.
Even after you guys spent time in those cubby holes and survived the blast, it still hasn't hit you that more than one person could have fit in those things. Why is this barbed wire trap still here? This is a trap from a flashback in the first Saw, which, according to the timeline... You know what? Honestly, I don't have any concept of time in this series anymore. I guess it could have been yesterday.
How'd they get you?
The only reason I even know who the f this guy in the barbed wire is because I've watched the previous Saw films in the last couple weeks. Imagine seeing this in the theater 4 years later after the first film and trying to reconstruct that memory. Also, Scott Patterson will now have his 3rd Agent Hoffman memory. I would say this is getting ridiculous, but I'm sending a Saw movie for the 5th time, so maybe I'm the problem. I know that Saw 5 is basically the story of how Detective Hoffman became Jigsaw's assistant, but considering that Jigsaw's already done this before without help, and Hoffman is a detective who should know a thing or two about kidnapping, it takes way too long to subdue this guy. Considering the setting, this should have taken 5 seconds, but it doesn't, because movie.
Hello, Paul. Did you cut yourself because you truly wanted to die, or did you just want some attention?
I can see why this trap was only given a brief flashback in the first Saw, because it's boring.
There is another detective that you should be aware of. His name's Tap.
I know who he is.
First off, I hate it when movies make an antagonist omniscient. Second off, you're in the hiding place where you're about to watch Paul get killed. According to the list, Paul is the 4th victim, and he's the first one that Tap is assigned in this case. So the dialogue here about there being a detective who's getting close is all fan-servicey bullshit.
I need you to lead him to someone for me.
Jigsaw now pulls out the penlight that incriminates Dr. Carrie Elways, which is found at the 2nd victim's murder scene, which apparently hasn't even happened yet. This makes no sense at all. If Hoffman killed Seth Baxter emulating a serial killer, the only death he had to work with was the first guy. By rule, there wasn't even a serial killer at that point to pin it on. Also, that would make Seth the 2nd victim, not the 3rd.
That leaves a lot to chance.
Costas Mandalore would be amazing at sinning Saw 2.
I did something, and a bunch of people were killed. I didn't mean to. They're still dead.
Wait, is this movie saying that this tweaker has a lab back in his apartment where he's trying to revive a bunch of dead people that he feels guilty about killing? Because I'd love to see that movie.
Nobody else knows.
Somebody does.
The incident Malik is talking about is him setting fire to an apartment building, and everybody in this game was responsible for it and covered it up. But somehow Jigsaw figured everything out despite all of that. Holy shit, her eyes opened! I thought we were about to get zombie Megan good, but we didn't, unfortunately. I'm just gonna say it. Those types of Bluetooth headsets are sins. They look stupid. And in a movie where I've seen bodies decapitated, blown up, electrocuted, and self-traked, this is still the worst thing I've had to look at.
Agent Strom, and why would he be following you?
That's a good question. What's a better question is why Erickson would be so quick to believe Jigsaw's ex-wife over one of his agents, because he 100% does.
What's going on with Amanda? Didn't you tell me the only way to truly offer enlightenment is by detaching emotionally.
Probably, but I'm also pretty sure Lionsgate told us that this was a brand new Saw movie and not just regurgitated bullshit from the previous films with Hoffman thrown in. This is one dog having a flashback away from being The Hills Have Eyes Part 2, or one guy screaming Garbage Day away from being Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. You can pick. Either way, you lose.
They're connected. So in the end, all the pieces will fit together, and it'll be clear.
And if it isn't, we'll make another movie where, I don't know, Carrie Elways is involved somehow. Here you go, Detective Hoffman. Here's a dossier for all the victims in Saw 5. But first, I need you to pretend to be a victim in Saw 4 while all this stuff in Saw 3 is going on. I could have just left this folder at the Saw office and told you to pick it up later, but I needed you to flip through it so that the audience realizes how connected everything is.
You were supposed to be the hero.
Is Strom just upset because he didn't get to be the hero? Because I think Strom is just upset because he didn't get to be the hero. This evidence locker phone that Hoffman is using still works, and even though it's been out of commission for 2 months, it still has a charge. Also, I guess it still has a SIM card in it. Peter would have gotten a new phone, right? Probably even a new number. All I'm saying is I'm not sure any of this is possible. But this phone is the most convenient thing ever for Hoffman's plan.
Callan, I want to put a locator on Strom's mobile phone.
Yeah, Jigsaw's wife told me that he was following her with no evidence. Then that motherfucker calls me and just hangs up. And when I call back, he doesn't answer. It's time for a federal investigation of that asshole. Also, this guy never even tried to call Peter after Jill told him she thought she was being followed. If he really gave a shit, he would have tried to call him earlier, but he didn't. Now this call and hang up thing gets him suspicious? So this is the phone number that showed up on Erickson's phone. 2 phones can't use the same number, so they should be checking for Peter's new number here. If you tell me that 2 phones can use the same number, they should be able to find the phone that is currently active.
There are blades in here.
We're an hour and almost 12 minutes into a movie with Saw in the title. I would say it's about damn time.
Why are there 5 slots on this machine?
Well, there are 5 Saws. Wait a minute. 5 Saws? Saw 5. Roll credits.
The tub wasn't meant for one person. We were supposed to hold 1 cable each and suffer a small shock.
Just a small shock. There were 3 cables that hooked onto you, but 2 of the cables had to be literally inserted or stabbed into the body. Also, all 5 cables had to be touching someone for the door to remain unlocked. So who would have been able to open the door? Also, one of the characters suddenly becomes smart when it doesn't matter anymore. The revelations are supposed to make you go, oh, but they make me go, ah.
For in 15 minutes, if the beaker is not filled, the bombs will explode, and the doors will be sealed forever.
I'm not sure how the door sealing is even a threat when you'll be blown apart by jars full of nails. You could really just end the speechifying there.
A dealer gave me an ounce of heroin to burn down an abandoned building.
Why did the drug dealer get off so easy in this? Jigsaw knew everybody involved with this nonsense. He couldn't find the drug dealer?
It wasn't abandoned. There was 8 people in there. 8 people died.
Death's position.
The fire! It's what connects us.
5th Saw movie inspires Fantasy Island 12 years later. Also, yeah. These 5 people are responsible for the deaths of 8 people. It's sad, it really is, but it has all to do with anything else going on in this movie. At least in the other films, the separate game tied in somehow. In part 2, the people trapped in the house were connected because Agent Matthews had arrested all of them and his son was trapped in the house with them, all while Eric was trying to figure out where he was. That movie might not be very good, but at least the storylines coexisting made sense. If Erickson thinks that a fellow agent is doing something wrong, shouldn't he have some other officers with him? Why do I know an FBI agent's job better than he does? Saw 5 answers the important questions, such as how exciting is watching FBI agents walk down mysterious nondescript hallways for 12% of the film's running time? Surprisingly, it's not exciting at all. Nearly a minute of these 2 screaming as they stick their hands in saws. Man, so glad these 2 met up at the end because this brings everything, well, actually this does nothing for the movie at all.
We won.
By the way, what stopped their bleeding after they got their hands out of the trap? If they gave 5 pints each, they lost even more after that when they didn't bandage up their injuries. And I can't say that I've seen any evidence that they did.
However, if you choose not to, you will never be heard from again.
Hoffman cheated like a motherfucker to frame Strom, and he lucked out on every single thing going exactly the way he needed them to. They didn't earn this ending, and if I were in a terrible mood, I'd add 50 cents. But goddammit, I love it. Along with the classic Saw, here's the you didn't know score, it's worth a cent off. I would love to know how Hoffman built these retractable walls for this trap, especially in the amount of time that he had to do it. Remember, he thought the first trap he put Peter in was going to do the trick, so he's had very little time to engineer the 3 rooms full of traps for the abandoned building fire people and find the space and equipment to create this special one for Peter. Hey, at least Strom doesn't have to suffer through Saw 6. Oh, fun. This is like when that hot naked lady got off on all that Heather Matarazzo blood in Hostel Part 2.
You. There you are, sister. You killed him. Made it look like a jigsaw trap. After Seth, you were involved in every investigation. Did you help Jigsaw get all of them? How'd they get you? You supplied these police files, didn't you? We were all supposed to die. You were supposed to be the hero.
Dewey, I'm cutting half pretty bad.
Alright, you can stop sending us concerned messages that TV Sins stole our idea. TV Sins is in fact our other channel where we sin, you guessed it, TV shows. Search for TV Sins and find one of your favorite shows. Then, enjoy us sinning the shit out of it.
Your computer has been infected with a pornographic virus. In exactly 25 seconds, Jeff, the hot IT guy who you totally have a crush on, will arrive at your desk to fix it. The clock is ticking, Janine.
Tommy, how's the peeping?
What's in the box? Now this first slide shows a very, very interesting thing.
You wouldn't want to do that unless you know how it works now, would you?
I'm freaking out, man.
Peter.
What's happening?
You killed him.
Your primary sensory intake that makes your dream live is seeing reflections, mirrors, images.
Everybody deserves a chance.
God, why don't you stop your whining and get on with it? I've heard this shit before.
If you're good at something, never do it for free.
You were supposed to be the hero. You were supposed to understand. I'll make you understand.
As the old adage goes, fool me once, shame on you.
You fool me, we can't get fooled again.